Welcome back to the Yappening. It is our, I think, final audio for now. They have power again.
Yay.
They're no longer trying to be Amish.
Yeah. Our Victorian LARP.
Yeah. So, yeah, today, obviously, if we're going to spoil the book, so make sure you read it or don't read it. And obviously check the trigger warnings before we moving in, if there are any, but I'm sure there are. And, yeah, Brittney's taking it today.
Yeah, it's a Brittney book, so get ready to be dark-sided. We are going to be talking about Lovely, Dark, and Deep by Megan Stockton.
Hot.
Yep.
Oh my god, it's a pretty sexy name.
Yeah, so as previously stated, trigger warnings, trigger warnings, trigger warnings. This one's pretty dark-sided. I obviously tried to skirt around as much gory detail as I could, but this is ultimately a zombie story, so I refuse to cut it all. So just, check the warnings. Just know the most darkest I did not touch on, so don't necessarily worry about it too much, but yeah. Okay, so picture it, a small island community, October, present day. We open with a young boy Fisher. He's viewing a corpse on the beach. He's wondering if the chunky glitter all over the body is sand or salt. The boy thinks that this man is a bluish bruised mangled doll. He's struggling to hide behind long beach grass on top of a small sand dune. He's thinking that he can see the body breathing.
I didn't want to interrupt, but Chunky Glitter is my roller derby name.
It sure is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And we love that for you.
You could put glitter in your beard. Oh my god!
You could. I got him like a beard grooming kit one year, and I think it had little bells he could put in there. I'm like almost positive because it was a Christmas gift set, so I think it had Christmas bells.
I know at one point. No, I think you tried to braid my beard.
I could have. I tried to braid everybody's beard.
I know you tried to braid my uncle's beard.
Yeah, no, I tried to braid everybody's beard because Viking. Come on.
Yeah,
I was pointing at Jessy. You couldn't see that because this is audio.
Yeah. No, I like to braid beards. They're magic.
That's so true, honestly. Okay, so the sheriff is standing near the body. Her tie is whipping about in the wind.
A female sheriff? Come on now.
I know, right?
This is already fiction. I'm kidding.
Oh, I forgot. This is audio medium. I'm very sarcastic.
Yeah, right.
My eyes were just rolling around like balls. I don't know.
Like balls? Like balls.
Eyeballs.
Sure, okay. Anyways, so a nasty storm is quickly rolling in. A deputy pulls up and the sheriff walks over to speak to the deputy. Fisher then hears someone calling for him, asking where he is, so he scoots down off the dune. He's trying to stay hidden away from, obviously, the cops because he was spying on a dead body. He runs off towards his dad. His dad is working on his small fishing boat. He asks Fisher where he ran off to. Fisher tells his dad that the sheriff is looking at a body on the beach.
Wait, Fisher is his name?
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Okay.
Like Fisher?
Yeah, Fisher.
Yeah, but his
Fisher
dad owns the
Price.
fishing boat?
Yeah.
His dad is completely original. We know this.
Yeah.
I'm just...
Well, he's gonna do some original things a little later, so...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, maybe not that original. Vlad the Impaler did it. His father continues to work... His father continues to work on the boat. Fisher wants to ask his dad if he's even listening to him, but he hasn't been able to see his dad very much anymore, and so he doesn't want to pick a fight with his dad. His dad is his favorite person. Fisher just wishes he could spend more time with him. He didn't necessarily care if his dad talked to him at all. He just really wishes that they could get ice cream together and watch movies like they used to.
How old is Fisher?
Quite young, because there's scenes where his mom is like picking him up and like holding him while he's like crying. So like he's I'd say under 10 probably.
Okay.
Carl.
Coral.
No, Fisher. No, just trying to get a mental image of him and saying like he wants to get ice cream like that. He can be a teenager or even an adult and be like,
yeah, no, he is a little. He's a youngin'.
I long for the days of blank with my parents,
right?
But for like you to long for the days as a child is like kind of sad, but also like kind of hopeful, whimsical.
The fact that you're that little, you're just wishing you're already at that age wishing you just could do this with your,
Yeah, well, we're gonna find out why. Okay, so now, and by the way, this is gonna pop around to a bunch of different POVs, and this book is so fucking cinematic to like the point where it felt like I was hallucinating a movie while reading it. It is very, very good. It's basically like a action-packed like horror movie sort of moment. But a lot of POVs. I probably should have made a character sheet for you guys, but oh well. R.I.P. Anyways, so we are now cutting over to the sheriff's point of view. Her name is Lyra. Today was evacuation day.
Hey, Lyra.
Yes.
Audio medium, I did the hand thing.
The hand thing.
Lyra.
He's cosplaying in Italian. Okay, so today's evacuation day. Every year in October, a massive storm typically hits the island. Some years are worse than others. This year seems to be the worst that the island has seen in a really long time. The forecasts are predicting that this could be a once-in-a-lifetime storm event. And it will be.
We get those a lot lately.
Right. Lots of once-in-a-lifetime moments. So while she normally takes weather predictions with a grain of salt, she still likes to have everything like in place. She likes to have a plan, just make sure that even if the worst happens, like everything's good to go. However, things were going smoothly, but now a body has washed up on the beach.
A body has been discovered.
Yeah. And so the island...
Sorry.
No, you're good. The island is small enough that quite literally every single person knows every single person on the island, and nobody knows who this body is. Like, he's never been seen before. So that is also just like a big question mark of like, how the hell did this body wash up on this beach?
Can I make a prediction?
Sure.
Is it like a mermaid, but once they leave the water, it's like H2O where they get legs?
I don't know necessarily. Okay. When they leave the water, though, it's kind of like the mayor from X-Men.
The
first movie?
I understand. I think he was like a senator. I'm not sure where you're going with it, though.
But, like, when they turn him into a mutant and he comes out of the water and he's just, like, leaking water and, like, super saggy and weird.
Like, he came from somewhere nearby the island and just kind of floated on the...
Yeah,
the waves or
when
the
creatures come out of the water, they like start like pouring water, and then their skin starts sagging. Like,
oh, interesting. Oh, it kind of makes sense though, because like if they're in depth, like if they're like deep sea creatures.
Yes, and so anytime like that was being described, I was just picturing like the senator when he like comes out of the water on the beach, and like everybody's like running and screaming.
I do recognize, and that's kind of where I was wondering the comparison came from.
Yeah.
I am more so picturing the bloated zombie from second season of The Walking Dead, the one that fell down the well. Just because, like, he just absorbs so much water.
You know what? I would picture this particular fella as that, just make him, like, very bruised and covered in glitter. Also, Fisher, like, the doll comparison is because Fisher says that the naked man doesn't have a penis. So that's why he thinks the dead body looks like a mangled doll, because there is no...
Yeah, mermaid. Merman, I got it.
There is no
dick
wiener.
Just probably comes out of a hole.
Probably, maybe. I don't know, like a little dragon.
Or they're like the fish that just like wiggle out their sperm in the water.
Definitely.
Sorry, it's getting way too anatomical.
It's so fine.
We'll cut it.
No, keep it. So anyways... Lyra asks Landon, the deputy, if he's ever seen the man. He confirms he has not. Lyra's phone begins to ring, so she steps away to answer it. It's a woman on the island. Her name's Barbara. She's frantic. She tells Lyra that Lyra needs to come over right away. Her baby's missing. She went to check on him in his crib, and he's gone. Like, she doesn't know where he is. He was there 1 minute, and then when she checked, he was gone.
Time travel. The baby is the man who just washed up on... land.
Nailed it.
Timey-wimey, Jeremy Bearimy.
Nailed it. Anyway, so Lyra goes over to Landon, and she tells him that they gotta get going. She thinks to herself that Barbara's husband is one of the 5 fishermen who never returned a few years back. They went off on a large fishing boat. They usually go every year. They stay out on the water for a long period of time. But a couple of years back, none of them came back. The boat, the men, never found. So, and nobody knows what happened. So Barbara, with the missing baby, is the wife of one of these men. So basically, more or less, while all of the wives and family members of these men struggled, Barbara very specifically, like, was just unwell. Like, just completely distraught, having lost her husband to the point where she, like, was not holding it together. So basically, like, everyone's like, oh no, Barbara, like, kooky Barbara, like, completely broken, shattered Barbara. But
I hope they don't say that to her face.
right. But also, she randomly got pregnant last year, and nobody knows who the father is. Like, not a single person knows, and they're just like, that's weird as hell.
I had a thought of, like, what does she mean by baby? Like, could mean anywhere, like her child.
Yeah.
But if her husband went missing 5 years ago, is it like literal baby? Not judging it, however you process your trauma and or grief. Get it?
Is it?
But I do not know how literal to take it.
I don't know. We'll find out. So let's see. All right. The officers load up the body, they head out. When they arrive, Lyra goes inside to speak with Barbara while Landon takes the John Doe over to the morgue. Lyra, when she gets inside, she sits Barbara down and asks what happened. Barbara tells her that she had laid the baby down to take a nap. She could tell that he was super, super fussy, but a storm was rolling in, so she opened the windows, hoping that, like, the sound of the storm and, like, the smell of the rain would help calm the baby down.
I'm going to make sound effects, me clapping my hands together. Baby blew away. Case solved.
There we go, we did it.
Let's go get some pie.
Yes.
Or shawarma.
Shawarma. Hell yeah.
Depending on where that, I'm just picturing like a little Maine coastal town. They've never even heard of shawarma. They have fish.
Yeah, that's true.
Fish and chips, which is also the title of a cut and run book.
Hell yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
For 3 months of the year, they have chips. Otherwise, just fish.
Just fish. All fish. Anyway, so Barbara tells Lyra that once she had laid her baby down for a nap, he was completely silent, telling Lyra that she didn't hear a peep, not even when it took him. Lyra asks to see the baby's room. She immediately notices that that the room not only smells like the storm, but she can distinctly smell the sea in the room. But more alarmingly, the bassinet looks freshly made, like a baby had not, in fact, been napping in there. So Lyra asks what time Barbara put the baby down for a nap. She tells Lyra that the baby was put down for a nap around 10:30 that morning.
That makes sense. The bassinet looks pretty immaculate there. The window's open and there's a storm coming in. The wind never blew the sheets around or nothing. Right.
But also, it is concerning to Lyra that Barbara hadn't called her until 2:30 that afternoon. It's a suspiciously long time for a young baby to be taking a nap from like 10:30 to 2:30, right? So
I've seen a collective like 3 or 4 minutes of Columbo, so I have no idea if that impression was accurate or not.
I don't know that it was, but that's okay. We still love you.
I picture Peter Falk, and I figure that's what he sounds like, just based off of Princess Bride. I've seen more of Princess Bride than I have of Columbo.
I've never seen Princess Bride.
Oh, crime.
I just watched Anastasia. What do you want from me?
Well, okay, that is so true.
I'll put it on my next one. I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it this weekend.
It's so good.
That makes sense.
And think of my dad, because that was a movie
it's okay.
that we watched.
I got your dad's flute snub there, and I gotta clean out the piccolo, and I'm gonna start learning how to play them.
All right. Anyway, so missing baby, suspicious. So let's see. Barbara says she called Lyra as soon as she knew that the baby was missing at 2:30. She had checked on him just after noon. He was still sleeping soundlessly in the bassinet, and then when she went to go check on him just before 2:30, that's when he was gone. Lyra asks Barbara to wait inside the house, telling Barbara that she's going to sweep the perimeter and the inside of the house, and then when Landon comes there, they would start combing the island and questioning people that are still on the island.
Hey, Chief, I got a name for the case. So, yeah, I'm not doing my double Chicago voice.
Jesus Christ.
What's the name of the case? Gone, baby, gone.
Oh, there's been murder.
Murder.
You did it again, Johnson. Just keep it up. Can I have a lollipop?
What murder? Sorry. Anyways, okay, so Barbara's waiting in the house. Lyra's gonna go look at things. She immediately notices that under the baby's window, the siding of the house is soaking wet to the point where it's starting to mildew, and that there's a long trail of black slime running from the windowsill straight down to the ground. Lyra notices that the ground is also fully saturated with 2 very large footprints directly under the window. Fast forward a little bit, just to kind of cover some important bits, Lyra and Landon go knocking on doors. They're searching for the baby. Juno, Fisher's mom, she tells them that Fisher went out wandering and she knows the storm is rolling in. So she's like, hey, while you're out questioning people, if you see Fisher, will you just tell him to come home? So they then stop by Lyra's ex's house, Felix. Felix lives alone on the South Beach. That's where the body was found. Felix tells Lyra that she saw Fisher on the beach earlier, so that she'll go down and grab him and walk him home. Like, hey, you guys keep looking for the baby. I'll go get Fisher and take him back to Juno. So that is where that happens. There's some lore that happens between Lyra and Felix that just kind of becomes like a theme that I mostly cut, but basically Lyra is incredibly serious and practical and like factually driven, whereas Felix, hard on her sleeve, wants to do things like enjoy movies, like, and Lyra's just like not having it. Also, they were dating for like a considerable amount of time, and Lyra would never tell Felix that she loved her, even though it is in fact true that she did love her.
So Lyra, just for my benefit, Lyra, no nonsense. Felix, some nonsense.
Yes, okay. Basically. And then, so they're not on super great terms. Like, Felix is, like, super cold towards her. But swinging back on over to Fisher's POV, his dad gently nudges him in the arm before telling him that he, like, hugs him. Fisher breathes in the smell of the seawater, noting that the only thing missing from his father's hug is warmth. After the hug, his dad tells Fisher to head back up the beach, telling him that Felix is looking for him. Fisher hugs his dad closer. He tells him that he doesn't want to go with Felix. He wants to stay with his dad. His dad takes a deep breath. Fisher notices a lot of wheezing in his dad's chest. His dad then tells Fisher that Felix is a good sailor. She's old blood. And that the storm is going to be here soon and it's going to be entirely too dangerous for Felix to be out there with his dad. So he's like, Felix is good people. Go on, let her take you home, basically.
The sea is no place for a boy. The sea is a place for old men.
Right. Mm-hmm. Also, I apparently like just straight up skipped over this, but at a point in the beginning when he was talking to his dad asked Fisher if his mom ever talks about him still. And Fisher basically said, like, she talks about you all the time type of thing. So as Fisher approaches Felix, she asks him what he's doing out there. He tells her that he was out visiting his dad. She then gets a really sad look on her face, and she tells him that she lost her dad too when she was about his age. She knows how hard it is to miss someone so important to you, but Fisher quickly snaps at her that his dad isn't dead. So if we are picking up what I'm putting down, his dad was one of the fishermen that went missing several years back.
Who the fuck did he hug?
His dad. Anyway, so back over to Lyra.
Unreliable narrator. Of course it's a child. Little liar bastards.
Sure. All right. So Lyra, she's approaching the home of the woman who lives just behind Barbara. When the owner answers the door, she quickly asks Lyra if she's there about the baby. Lyra said, what do you know about the baby? And she said, I know she's been leaving that window open day and night, rain or shine. She then goes on to say that she hears the baby screaming all night sometimes. And sometimes she hears Barbara yelling too. So she then goes on to tell Lyra that Barbara has lately become very reclusive. She hasn't seen Barbara outside like she normally does. She's been seeing a man come the last few days, typically late at night.
Yeah.
Telling Lyra that he sneaks around. He's very creepy. Whenever she's seen him lingering in her own yard a few times, the second she turns on the porch light, he takes off. So she's not really gotten a good look at him. She doesn't know who he is, but she knows that he's there to see Barbara. One time when she caught Barbara outside, she asked who the man was, and she just said, like, he comes to see me and the baby. So over back to Landon, to Landon for the first time. He is speaking to a man who's collecting trash. Basically, the guy is like, just like a grizzled old guy. He's like, you can talk to me, but I gotta keep working. This storm's coming. I can't pick up this shit later. Like, he's very much like, I need to get these trash bags before the storm blows them all over the fucking island and I have to clean it up.
Honestly, I'd be the same way.
Absolutely.
He's a guy in Law and Order where I gotta unload this truck. I can't stop what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Landon's asking him if he's seen anyone suspicious around the area. He too notes seeing a random man creeping around. Can't get a good look at him. The trash guy then drops the trash bag onto the road and begins dragging it. When it rips completely open, the bottom gives way when he goes to pick it up. So trash spills everywhere. The man and Landon look down and they see, in fact, a baby laying amongst the contents of the trash bag. So the man screams. Landon immediately looks up and sees Lyra running over to him. Lyra grabs him and tells him to go cuff Barbara immediately and take her over to the station. But he stammers to Lyra that he can't. He basically says if he is alone with her, he's going to kill her. Like, he's just so upset at the baby. He's just like, you can't leave me alone with her. I will kill her. Like,
I mean, honestly, if it was confirmed that, like, we knew who did it, I would also.
Yeah. Yeah, so Lyra basically just says, get it together, do your job type of thing. But then when Landon enters the house, Barbara is not, in fact, in the house. Side note, once Fisher is back home with his mom, they decide, they had told, Juno told Lyra and Landon that they were going to ride out the storm at home. But basically, she doesn't have enough money to, like, board up the windows and stuff. So she was just going to be sitting in the, like, laundry room and kind of hoping for the best. But Fisher has asked if they can go over to the church. The church normally stays open so that during the storm season, people can go and, like, basically hang out at the church and, like, be in the basement and be safe. It's just somewhere for, like, people who are staying to, like, gather and not have to be alone. And then at, like, a safe spot on the island. So let's see. The church stays open. After dropping Fisher off, Felix sees a woman stumbling around. Apparently we have flipped over to Felix's POV and I didn't note that. But anyway, so Fisher and his mom decide to go to the church. Felix sees a woman wandering. She describes the woman's movement like seeing a zombie, jerky, and unnatural. When Felix starts to get a bad feeling, she does decide that she's going to follow the woman into the alleyway. Her main concern is, like, is this person, like, injured? Are they lost? Like, a storm is coming in. If this person is, like, delirious, like, I probably should help them, right? So, she heads off after this person. The woman is heading off to the beach. Felix is, as mentioned, concerned. Also, like, the beach is objectively the worst place this woman could be, like, wandering around if she is, like, out of it. So Felix is concerned, goes over to the woman. She calls out to her. The woman doesn't respond, but she begins to walk faster the second that she makes it to the sand. Felix calls out again and begins running after the woman. When Felix makes it over to the woman, she sees that it's Barbara. Felix is relieved, like, oh, cool, I know who you are, you're not some random lady, but, like, also, Barbara has a gun, so Felix is not feeling great about that. Felix asks if she's okay, basically, like, girl, you good? And she can hear Barbara start to mumble something to herself. Felix isn't able to understand what she's saying because, again, storm is rolling in, very windy, very loud. Felix reaches out to grab Barbara, because Barbara's trying to walk straight into the ocean, but Barbara screams, spins around, and points the gun at Felix. So Felix is trying very much to calm her down. Barbara just says, I didn't want to, going on to say he wanted to take Liam with him. I just couldn't let him, but I miss him so much. So Barbara points the gun at her own head at this point and says that she can't live with what she's done. So out of the corner of her eye, Felix now sees two people running towards her. It is Lyra and Landon. They manage to wrestle the gun away from Barbara. Landon is pinning Barbara down and she just begs for him to let her die. Back over to Fisher and Juno. They're running towards the church. As they approach the church, Fisher hears someone say his name. He turns around, wondering who is out in the storm, calling to him, basically, and he sees someone standing on their front porch. Fisher waves, basically assuming that the person on the porch is his dad. His dad waves back in a mechanical motion that seemed unnatural. Fisher watches as his dad enters their home. Fisher isn't feeling super great about this. He has a really bad feeling that, like, something weird is happening. Fisher also had a lot of anxiety as they were leaving because they didn't lock their door, and he was, like, worried that someone was going to come into their house. So him turning around and seeing this, like, kind of also amplifies that anxiety a little bit for him. So going back over to our officers, like I said, we're bopping around all over the place here.
Right, I like it. I like a multiple POV.
Yeah, so after apprehending Barbara, Lyra drives Felix back home, basically. Like, the storm is basically up in here. You're not gonna make it if you walk home, so let me drive you. So, let's see. Landon heads off with Barbara. They get back to the police station. Landon goes to get Barbara dry clothes to change into. He then hears the front door open, and he thinks it's weird because he's like, Lyra just left with Felix. Like, there's no way that she's back already. But he is just kind of like, okay, well, maybe I'm just hearing things right. So
it's the baby coming to the police station. Hey, has anyone seen my mom?
Yeah. So he brings the dry clothes over to Barbara. But as he's like approaching her cell, he hears someone whispering. And he hears, "I did it for us. It wouldn't have been fair to Liam. I was so afraid for him." She being Barbara, whoever she's speaking to, she says, "Take me now. I can't remember any of this anymore. I want to forget it."
Too late. You're gonna fry for this.
Right.
Fish fry.
Landon.
Oh my god.
Landon then hears what sounds like a man's voice respond. As Landon rounds the corner, he sees Barbara leaning up against the door of her cell with a creature sucking on her throat. The creature looked like a person with wet matted hair and rough scaly skin, a dark shade of green. The creature was standing in a puddle of water, and it smelled like all the worst parts of the harbor. Landon called out to Barbara, reaching for his gun. He noticed that her skin was starting to turn blue, and that she didn't seem to be in much pain.
Could just be a new trend. She's turning blue. The creature is green.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going white with fear right now. So
yes. So as he pops the button to his holster on his belt, the creature stops and turns around and looks at him. The creature looked like a corpse of a man. Its eyes fully black. The flesh of its nose and cheek are severely drooping. Its mouth is entirely too wide with 2 rows of pointed teeth. The creature releases a hellish scream, and Landon raises his gun and shoots at it.
Ooh.
However, the creature dives out of the way, causing the bullet to go straight through Barbara's face.
She got what she wanted.
This is true. So, back over to Juno and Fisher. They have officially arrived at the church. The pastor greets them in and leads them down to the basement. The basement is connected to a tunnel system. The pastor...
I hate that.
Right. The pastor tells them a story that the church was the first building built by the settlers of the island, and that the tunnel system connects to other old buildings on the island.
Hate that.
He tells them that the settlers thought that they were seeing demons coming from the sea, so they dropped everything else they were building to immediately erect a church. He then goes on to say that it's believed that the settlers were having mass hallucinations from a type of fish that they were catching and eating. But there's also lore that all of the first settlers disappeared. They had all wandered off into the sea. The pastor explains to Fisher what hallucinations are, and Fisher's like so young that he just has never heard that word. So he explains it to Fisher, and Fisher starts sobbing, and Juno picks him up, assuming that he's scared of the like scary story. And she's like, "Oh, did like that story frighten you? But it's okay." And he's like, "No, I've been hallucinating." So he then tells her that he's been seeing his dad. He thinks that he saw his dad go into their house. He's like completely distraught. Like, I think he fully just sort of knew and understood his dad was gone, but then when he came back, he, like, just didn't really question it. But now that he's realizing, like, oh, you can see things that aren't real, like, shit, that must be what's going on with me. So
Haley Joel Osment, I see dead people type.
Right. Very much that. So he basically begs Juno to go back to the house to check and basically see. Like, can you just, like, go confirm that, like, nobody is in our house? Because either I hallucinated my dad, or someone went into our house and is, like, there with all of our stuff, and that is also upsetting to me, a small child. So he asks...
My switch!
Right. He asks his mom to go back, asking her what if he's been seeing a demon from the ocean. Felix... POV. As Felix gets home, she turns on the light in her home and she's horrified to see wet footprints all over the carpet. She notices that the footprints smell, again, like the ocean. She grabs a knife from her kitchen and begins to search the house. She doesn't find anyone there, so she follows the footprints over to the back door where she sees a man. She, like, opens the back door. She sees a man standing out by the lighthouse, like, by her house.
Excuse me, sir, can I sniff your shoes? I need to see if they smell like the sea.
Right.
So I like sniffing footprints for some reason.
You don't need to project your feelings onto other people.
Damn.
Confusion?
Sniffing feet. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So
that
fake.
was a joke. That was a joke. Anyways, the man was standing there motionless until he sees Felix, at which point he begins walking towards her at a brisk pace. With this, Felix, being a smart lady, slams and locks the door. Moving back over to Fisher. He is just church chilling with the pastor in the basement. His mom has gone back to the house.
Is the pastor sitting in a chair normally, or did he turn the chair around first?
Fisher notices that the pastor seems very sick. He is beginning to sweat profusely. He's hanging onto his arm like there's something wrong with his arm. And Fisher can hear the sound of the pastor's tongue moving in his mouth. So his mouth is, like, fully dry.
So I've been trying.
He's got the rabies.
I've been trying not to die over here. Hey kids, do you know who else was sick? His name was Jesus.
Yeah, just like that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Like, damn it.
Anyways, so the pastor tells Fisher that he's really thirsty, so he excuses himself to go upstairs and grab a soda. Fisher is sitting alone, hoping that his mom comes back soon because he's feeling very freaked out about this pastor right now. But then Fisher begins to hear rushing water, like a lot of water. Basically, it sounds like someone's running a bath upstairs. So Fisher goes upstairs to see what is happening. And he detects that the sound is coming from the baptism bath, like basically up at the front of the church. Fisher then trips over a pile of clothes, going to see what the hell's happening.
Hey kids, forget the autism and get with the baptism.
Yeah. So the pastor's, like, fully fucking naked in this bathtub. His face is, like, under the faucet that's, like, on full blast. And he's just, like, gulping down water until he just starts puking everywhere because, you know, he has water rushing at a high pressure down his throat. So he begins to vomit. Fisher is obviously correctly freaked out by this. So he tries to sort of make his way backwards, but he stumbles and falls over the clothes, at which point the pastor's head snaps up. He then pulls himself slowly up and out of the tub. On all fours, the pastor then begins to crawl out of the tub and towards Fisher. The pastor...
They're not beating the allegation.
Right. The pastor falls, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get so worse. The pastor falls over onto his side, and he begins to shake uncontrollably. Fisher notices that the pastor has several large puncture wounds on his arm, almost like something bit him. Fisher then scurries himself under a pew. So he is basically like, okay, he's distracted by, whatever convulsions he's having. So Fisher, like, dives under the pews to, like, kind of hide. Let's see. At this point, Fisher then sees the pastor's wet feet stand up on the carpet. He then hears, the pastor call out to Fisher, telling Fisher that he doesn't want to hurt him. Back over to Lyra. She gets to the station to find that Barbara's dead. Landon is sitting on the floor hugging his knees. He tells her that something was there with him. And basically she's very much obviously assuming that Landon did this intentionally. And he's like, there was something here with us. And she's like, Landon, come on, my guy. But then the phone rings. So she answers the phone.
Look at the wet footprints. There's a storm. What do you expect?
Yeah, so it's the coroner. His name is Chris. Good
old coroner Chris.
He tells her that he decided to stay on the island to complete the autopsy of John Doe. But he tells her that something super weird is happening and he needs one of them to come over right now. He sounds incredibly scared, but Lyra is frightened at how scared Chris sounds because he's like just this grizzled old island man, like live and die on the island, like nothing fucking scares him, like he just is ready to fight anybody. The only soft spot he has is for his cat that he found like on the island. So he has like a little feral cat that he lives with, and no, I will not mention the cat again, please don't make me. But anyway, so Chris is really freaked out and Lyra's freaked out at how freaked out Chris is. She basically tells Landon is like, I'll go, you stay and do your investigating thing. Like, I understand I can't be part of this. So I will go to see what's up with Chris while you're like getting everything situated out here. So let's see. Lyra looks at the body once Landon has left. And she notices that the cell floor is very, very damp. And that Barbara has what looks to be a shark bite on her throat. Lyra heads to the supply room to grab a body bag out to like put Barbara into, and then the power cuts off. As she's heading back towards the break room, she then hears something. She hears someone whispering. She heads over into the main room with her flashlight in hand, and she sees that Barbara is no longer there. There is, however, a long trail of bloody footprints leading to the basement. Landon. So he gets to the coroner's office. The place is very dark. He calls out, but he only hears a thumping sound. Landon then shuffles...
The bass.
Yes. Absolutely. Shut. So anyways...
I was waiting for someone to just...
I was waiting for you to wear yourself out.
I was waiting for the beat drop.
Anyways...
Brittney's going to murder.
Do you want to listen to the story or you want to beatbox some more?
Beatbox while the story's happening.
Can I do both?
No. Anyways. I'm gonna fight you. You don't act right. So Landon is shuffling his way down the dark hallway, calling out to Chris.
Everyday shuffling.
He's following the thumping sound, trying to figure out what is happening. He then sees the shape of a man coming out of the darkness. The figure is naked and bloated and covered in glitter. Landon recognizes this to be John Doe.
At least they're covered in glitter. Only he's covered in glitter.
No, I thought it was me in my derby gear.
Yeah.
I love that, actually. We'll get you some glitter skates.
Naked man, just coming out of the dark. He had a lot
Chunky
of
glitter coming at you.
It's like one of the monsters in Resident Evil is called Chonk, and like it is the most adorable thing ever.
I love that.
He's terrifying, and he can't fit through Door's waist. But
well, I guess
he's trying his
good
best.
for you, right? So, okay, so John Doe. He opens his mouth. It's entirely too wide. He lets out a feral screech. He has a mouth full of two jagged teeth. Like 2 rows of jagged teeth. So Landon decides this isn't really his business at this point. Basically, like, I don't give a fuck what's happening here, but it's not for me. So he
just opens the door. Anything going on? Nope. And close the door.
Right. So he notices that the path to the front door is fully blocked. And so if he does a big go round, he can make his way to the cooler, and from there he can make his way out the side of the cooler into the mudroom and out the back door.
Do a big go round.
He'd do the big go round. He gets into the cooler. He locks the door. He hears the creature in the hallway screeching. Landon then takes a few deep breaths to calm himself. He is wondering where the fuck Chris is. He then begins to hear a very gentle cooing coming from inside the dark cooler. He presses his back to the door and begins to fumble with the flashlight. The flashlight turns on. It immediately begins blinking in and out. He gives it a couple of smacks. He begins shining it around. It's still kind of blinking a little bit, but not as bad. He hears the cooing again, and he thinks that this also isn't his business, and so he is like, I'm just gonna fucking leave. Like, I don't need to know what's cooing at me in this darkness. I can just go. I can just have free will and leave. The cooing then shifts to a horrible screaming cry. It is at this point that...
Hey kids, do you know who else was locked in and cooler and also did a horrifying scream?
And also came back to life.
Jesus.
So anyways, Landon is like, oh shit, that's a baby crying. So he's like, there's a baby in this cooler with me, and that's...
I was going to say, you did a couple smacks too, not to the flashlight, but
to the baby?
No, to bankers.
What?
Yeah, there's some...
Bankers?
There's something about...
Jesus?
Jesus like smacked around bankers for like a trading interest or something.
That feels...
I'm not a
I don't know.
person.
Who's to say?
I'm supposed to be like a religion person, but I'm not a person.
Sometimes.
Not a person.
I'm indeed a person, and I have my identification to prove it.
My people identification. Anyways, so upon realizing that this is in fact a baby crying, he very slowly turns around with the light in his hands. He then sees something hunched in the corner. The thing is wearing a white lab coat. Landon is incredibly certain that this is Chris. However, the figure's shoulders are hunched over, they're moving, and its head is bobbing in and out of its raised hands, almost like it's having a snack. So Landon calls Chris...
You will not mention.
I mentioned a little. Landon calls Chris's name.
Please tell me it's the baby.
With that, the creature whips its head up. It is indeed Chris. He's holding baby Liam, Barbara's baby.
Oh, thank God.
Who is very much alive. So...
I thought it was the cat.
I told you not to ask me to mention the cat again. Okay.
I'm saying, he's eating the baby. That's preferable.
The cat really resonates with you, huh?
Hey, future one of us, cut that out. I don't want that on wax.
So anyways, the thumping sound was the cat that was stuffed into a filing cabinet because Chris's last act was to save his cat by putting it into the filing cabinet so the creature couldn't get to it.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Landon opened the cabinet to see what was in there, and the cat jumped out, and now the cat is trapped outside with the other zombie, where Chris, his last dying wish was to save his cute, fuzzy animal. Are you happy now? There you go. Now you know that.
Just the tragedy we needed.
I am, because the baby's being eaten, and as far as I'm aware, the cat lives.
I love that for you. So anyways...
I'm an optimist, and I'm also a liar.
Chris's...
called delusion.
Yeah, we love a good... Well, you know what? Delulu is the Solulu. Chris's jaw...
Title.
That is so poignant for the things that have been going on with us this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the cat lived, the baby's being eaten. That's preferable. Title of the episode.
You were canceled before we even become a thing. Thank you so much for that. So anyways, Chris's jaw hangs open.
I'm a white man. I'll be fine.
You're so right.
I was like, but wait, where's the incorrectness there?
Yeah, he has rows of jagged teeth. Obviously, we know this. Dripping blood. He's fully focused on Landon, and Chris drops the baby. The baby then quickly skitters across the floor. Landon is focused on the skittering baby and fails to notice that Chris has stood up and is now taking a run at him.
You can think about two things at once there, Landon.
Mm-hmm. God damn it. I did it again.
You can think about the man and the baby.
Yeah.
Not one or the other.
I need you to ramble random stuff right now.
Beatbox. You can't see the dancing, so I'm not even gonna use the arm strength.
Okay. Chris takes a run at him. Chris grabs onto Landon. After a struggle, he manages to sink his teeth into Landon's arm. Landon at first feels excruciating pain, followed very quickly by a surge of euphoria. Through his overwhelming sense of peace and pleasure, he is able to shove Chris away from him, but the second that Chris's teeth disengage from his arm, the pain immediately returns and he's again in excruciating agony. He is able to pull his baton out, and he just begins wildly swinging in the dark. From the darkness, Chris From the darkness, Landon hears Chris rasp that he's very thirsty, begging for a glass of water. Landon basically says, Chris, I'll give you whatever the fuck you want, but you gotta back up. Like, you cannot be near me, but I will go get you water, but you have to get the fuck away from me. However...
Personal space.
Right. However... Landon quickly reaches for the flashlight, and as he goes to shine it back up, Chris is in his face. So he shrieks out. Landon can see that Chris's pupils are beginning to stretch their way across his eyes, and his eyes are turning a very matte black. Chris lunges for Landon. Landon swings his baton, striking Chris in the face, and he doesn't stop until he doesn't have a face anymore, basically. Landon then begins...
Where does it go?
Who's to say? With the cat. Landon begins begins to flash the light around the room. He's not necessarily sure what he's looking for specifically.
Cat needs a snack.
But then he sees something scurry out from under one of the metal tables. Landon then hears...
Cat. I got my fingers crossed. Cat.
Landon then hears a wet sucking sound. He turns the flashlight over towards Chris's body, and he sees the baby lapping the blood up from the floor.
There are several words that I like in that sentence, and I don't like that it ends with a baby.
Yeah. Anyways, once the light hits the baby's head lifts up, and the baby hisses at Landon.
That's nightmare fuel.
Landon now sees that this toothless baby is now full of basically shark teeth. The baby launches itself at Landon, sinking its fangs into Landon's leg. Back over to Juno.
Check on for the Achilles heel, but I guess that baby has never seen Pet Sematary.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where the cat also comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hells yeah.
Hells
I remember
yeah.
that shit. Yeah, that was Pet Cemetery, man.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
So, Juno is making her way into the house. She hears a wheezing sound coming from somewhere nearby within the house. She sees wet footprints on her floor. Our girl makes her way to the kitchen. She grabs a knife, telling herself that she needs to be rational, but she is beginning to believe that Fisher is right and that her husband is in fact in the house with her. So she's feeling really hopeful, but she's still practical, so she does take a knife with her. She follows the wheezing sound into her dark bedroom. She smells that the room smells overwhelmingly of seawater. The room has also been ransacked. All the drawers have been dumped out, and her husband's collection of nautical items has been pulled off the walls and is fully scattered around the floor.
Rivers Cuomo, I asked you to clean up after yourself.
Yes. But standing next to her broken window, she sees a man dripping water. Correct. She quietly calls to her husband. He lifts his head and slowly turns towards her. He says her name and she just begins sobbing. She drops the knife and rushes towards him. She clutches onto him, fully sobbing that they've missed him so much. He doesn't hug her back. Instead, he very slowly presses his face into her hair and begins to kiss her neck. She then leans into him, beginning to feel very lightheaded. Her eyelids become heavy and she begins, and they begin to close. She pulls him closer. He then gently begins biting her. Suddenly, his teeth are fully sunken into her neck and she forgets everything. She wants to pull away, wants to ask him why he came back and how he came back, but her mind is lost in a haze of pleasure and apathy. She falls back onto the bed, pulling away from her husband. As his lips leave her neck, her eyes shoot open, and she tries to scream as her husband leans over her and opens his mouth, which is fully, again, too many teeth. She notices that he's very pale and covered in bluish flakes. He looks at her and he says, "You were going to leave me." She sees his lifeless eyes are glistening, almost as if he's been crying. She begins sobbing and pleading.
Or covered in glitter.
Telling him that she would never do that to him and Fisher. She never intended to leave him. He leans in and she feels his tongue run across her blood-soaked neck before she is overcome with darkness. Worries are gone. Over to Felix. The man she saw is gone. She peeks out her window and she sees people she sees the ocean is overtaking the beach. However, that's not frightening her. She's lived through many a storm. It is, in fact, the figures crawling out of said ocean that is upsetting to her. Two of the figures pass by her window and they don't notice her. However, one is her childhood best friend, who, you guessed it, was one of the missing fishermen. The further he moved from the ocean, the more wrong he begins to look. She had no doubt.
So right.
She has no doubt that this is in fact her friend. But he has very pale, wrinkly skin. His skin is beginning to sag. She notices about.
You'll do that.
She notices.
She's gonna kill you.
She notices about a dozen other figures mindlessly making their way in the same direction. The figures seem interested in her. They don't seem interested in her or her house, but they are headed towards the town. Felix knows that there's people still in town, and she's like, well, I gotta do something about this because, is probably not gonna be too cute. So she grabs a headlamp, zips herself into her rain jacket, and she sprints towards the lighthouse. Felix hoped that she would be able to navigate the tunnels under the lighthouse well enough to find her way towards the church. She pauses very briefly to look behind her. She sees her friend. He is watching her. His mouth is hanging open. She raises her hand to wave at him before turning around and quickening her pace towards the lighthouse. She pauses, looks back at him as she's only a couple paces from the door. She's hoping that the door isn't locked, but when she turns around, she sees her friend. His hand is one hand in the air staring at her. Felix slams into the door and then begins to fumble with the doorknob because no one in this goddamn book can open a fucking door.
She just needs the right key because she's stumbling around the tunnels. And she's just trying to get to the underground lab where the zombies are being created.
You're right. That's exactly what's happening. So anyways, the door won't budge. So she glances back. Her friend's gone. She slams herself harder into the door again and again. It does finally swing open.
If only she were the master of unlocking.
Yeah, if she had a couple bobby pins and a screwdriver, she might have been able to get in there a little faster. Okay, so she stumbles inside. As she's turning around to close the door, though, her friend is now standing at the threshold of the door. He shoves his hand between the door and the door jamb as she's swinging it closed. Felix fights against the door, trying to get it closed. She then begins slashing at his hand and arm with her knife that she has on her. He is very much unfazed by her strikes, but every time she cuts him open, like, water just starts pouring out of him. So she raises the knife and sinks it into his eyeball while giving the door one final shove closed.
If only Jesus were there, he could turn the water into wine and they'd have wine for blood. They'd just die instantly.
If Jesus was a biscuit, he could sop them up.
That's your woman right there.
If Jesus was Spider-Man, he could web them.
But the biscuit makes sense, though, because...
And Spider-Jesus doesn't.
Because you eat... When you go to communion or whatever it is, you get the biscuit.
Yeah.
I like the Spider-Man, too. Very creative. But I just thought the analogy was really... You made the analogy first with the wine, then she did the biscuit, and I'm like...
To be fair, I was referencing a very early season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Oh. Jesus is a biscuit, let him sop you up.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And if you want to learn more, just look up Soggy Biscuit.
Sure. That's not my business. I don't know what he's talking about. Anyways, I walk with the Lord.
Hey, if my parents or any family members are listening to this, do not Google that. Everyone else do it.
Uncle Phil, Google it.
Do it.
Anyways, so Fisher is army crawling his way beneath the pews. He is trying to make his way towards the front door silently. He has his head as low as he possibly can while he's crawling, so that he's not slamming his head into the pews as he's going. The preacher doesn't seem to know where he is. He just keeps screaming Fisher's name over and over. And Fisher thinks that the preacher actually sounds scared. So he's like scared, but also he's like, why is he scared? Like, what is happening? The preacher sinks to his knees. He's fully sobbing. His cries very quickly transform from cries into growls. He then begins banging his fists into his face. Fisher crawls faster, however, he is starting to get rug burn on his chin, so he lightly lifts his chin and slams it into a pew. The preacher then stops growling. Fisher is very, very close to the door. He looks back. The preacher is gone from where he last saw the preacher. He decides that he's just going to make a run for it. So he stumbles his way out from under the pew, scrambles up to his feet, runs to the door, struggles with the doorknob. He does realize that the deadbolt is locked, and as he clicks the bolt open, he hears a whisper directly behind him. It sounds like his father whispering his name, so he very slowly turns around. The preacher is perched on the back of a pew. His knees are bent, his hands are resting between his feet. The preacher's chest is heaving as he's breathing. His mouth is open as if he's an animal in distress. His eyes are pale and waxy. His forehead is swollen and bruised, and blood is fully pouring from his nose.
Blood, not water.
He's not fully transformed yet. So Fisher is stood there frozen in terror. The preacher then lunges for him, like basically the hunter from Left 4 Dead. So basically,
I think it was terrible. We used to play that all the time.
Dude, let's do it. You
We
know
could
what?
do it.
Let's have a sleepover. Let's get so stoned and have snacks.
Yes! Oh my god, can we plan that? Yes! I was about to say that! I wasn't sure if
Absolutely.
I may cut it because I don't know how many people want to know that I'm stoned, but...
Well, you don't have to get stoned. I can get stoned.
No,
I'll get
I
stoned
meant
and-
cut it from...
I'm like,
I
I was like,
okay.
I'll get stoned enough for the both of us. Fine. It's
No,
fine.
no.
Jessy's a sweet baby angel. She never does anything bad ever.
Well, I'm cutting that. Not cutting, but I'm isolating that. Ha! Whenever I make a theme song, that's going in.
I'll save it for you. Just that part.
Ha!
So,
I'll put it at the end of the episode.
Honestly, the theme song should just be me beatboxing.
I'm nodding aggressively.
yeah. So the hunter has Fisher, and he is snapping his jaws at Fisher. Fisher is struggling and he's begging. He's digging his hands into the carpet. He's trying to grasp onto the wall paneling. He's just trying to do anything he can to get himself out from under the preacher. But then the preacher suddenly stops. He runs his hand over Fisher's head, brushes his hair out of Fisher's face.
Simba.
Sure. He then tells Fisher that he's very sorry for frightening him. He tells Fisher that he just wants to give him a hug, and then he'll take Fisher back to his mom. Fisher is sobbing, telling him that he doesn't want a hug.
I've seen Spotlight.
He just wants to go back to his mom. But the preacher leans in and whispers, telling Fisher, I really must insist we hug it out. So Fisher's sobbing, but in his mind, he's like, I'll hug him, and then I can go see my mom, and it'll be fine. So he's sobbing. He slowly nods his head. The preacher lifts Fisher up into a sitting position before wrapping his arms around him. Fisher can feel his cold breath against his neck. The hug becomes tighter and tighter. Then Fisher hears a voice shout his name. The preacher jerks his head up and he's snarling as Felix comes running at him. She grabs a candelabra off the floor as she's running. Fisher scrambles to his feet while the preacher is distracted as Felix swings away and hits the preacher in his face so hard that he flips over backwards. Fisher can tell that hit hurt Felix as well because she is a little stunned after slamming into the preacher's face.
I love the realisticness of that, actually.
Like, and that scene just feels so fucking cinematic. Like, it's just
Also,
so
was he
tense.
still naked?
Yeah. That's why I said it was going to get much worse.
I'm gonna walk out. Oh my god, nasty.
Right. So Felix basically keeps hitting the preacher again and again once she's recovered from the first hit. And once the preacher's not moving, Felix rushes over to Fisher. She picks him up. She's hugging him. She's asking him if he's okay. She's checking over his entire body. And she's like fully sobbing because she was like, I was almost too late. So she's really freaked out. But as she's looking Fisher over and making sure he's good, they then hear moaning coming from the basement. So Felix basically says they fucking followed me. So she grabs Fisher by the arm and yanks him out the door, saying, like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Over to Lyra. She is descending the basement stairs at the police station. Flashlight in one hand, baton in the other. She calls out into the darkness, telling that whoever is there needs to make themselves known. She's shining her flashlight into the darkness. A beam then lands on a figure. She backs herself into a wall, so she doesn't have great visibility, but she's like, if I back myself into the wall, at least I know no one's coming up behind me. So she backs herself up into the wall as she's like trying to figure out who is standing in the basement. She sees that it's a man.
Yeah.
She describes him as looking like the side of an old ship. He's fully caked in salt and barnacles.
Oh, ew.
Despite how unnatural the man appears, Lyra very specifically recognizes him to be Barbara's husband. His mouth is hanging open, his face is tilted towards the ceiling, and there is condensation dripping into his mouth.
I'm picturing, I think it was Stellan Skarsgård in the second and third Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Bootstrap Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, just covered in barnacles.
I didn't know he was a Skarsgård, but
I didn't know he was a Skarsgård either.
I think he's Daddy Skarsgård. Isn't he?
But there's so many Skarsgårds, and they're all
brothers, but I think he's the dad.
all fine as hell.
Yeah, that's... I'm only picturing him. I don't know that for sure, but I'm assuming he's a Skarsgård. He looks like a Skarsgård.
I think you're almost... Now that I'm picturing his face, I do think I think you are correct.
Kind of hunched.
Generally speaking,
Yeah. I was going to say be barnacled.
Be barnacled. Yes. Barnacle Boy is licking dewdrops from the ceiling. Lyra then hears a clicking sound coming from her left. She slowly turns the flashlight and sees Barbara rushing towards her.
First a hunter, now a clicker. We're just mixing up our game metaphors here.
I know, and I'm not mad at it, honestly.
Oh, you know what? Also, Resident Evil. I guess that was me.
Yeah.
Just making assumptions. We haven't hit an underground lab yet.
Sure haven't. So Barbara's running at her, mouth open, too many teeth. However, Lyra takes care of the too many teeth problem when she slams her baton into Barbara's face. She then hears the clicking of teeth scattering across the floor. Lyra shines her flashlight at Barbara's face. Basically, she hit Barbara right where the bullet went through, so now her face is fully split open. Like, the impact on that, just her face fully open. Just a whole gaping hole where her nose should have been, and her lower jaw, is just all fucky. So she lunges again at Lyra. Lyra lands the baton again, hearing it even more teeth go scattering. Barbara, however, collides with Lyra, knocking her down. The flashlight and the baton are on the ground. There's very much sort of like the spinning, like the flashlight spinning, like imagery type thing of like rolling, and then it rolls. And as the beam lands on where Barbara's husband was standing, he is no longer there type of thing. And that's why I say this book is so fucking cinematic, because like honestly, just like the fucking detail is like fucking beautiful.
See, that's how these two played the game before they decided to use bottles, was a flashlight. And so Felix almost had to make out with Barbara's husband.
You're right.
Or the priest.
Felix was even there, and she almost had a...
That was Fisher.
Fisher had to make out? Nope, I'm not finishing that sentence.
Lyra is the one there.
I have a feeling she wouldn't be into it.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and hazard a guess that Lyra is perhaps bisexual.
Okay.
There's like a whole thing where like Landon very clearly like has a crush on her, and she's like, he's a sweet kid, but like also just I'm absolutely not doing that. But it doesn't seem like she's necessarily offended. Perhaps. At least that was not it was more so like he's significantly younger than me and he's my subordinate type of thing, rather than like ew, boys. At least that was the vibe I got. I don't know. I didn't write the book, so. Anyways.
I mean, those are valid reasons. The subordinate and also a baby.
Yes.
Like, age-wise.
No, I got it. I got it.
I could have said that better.
You could have said a lot of things better. Anyways, so Barbara is on top of Lyra. Her face is fully in Lyra's face. Her jaw is trying to chew on said face, but she does not have teeth, so we're good there.
Gummer.
Her tongue is fully slathering all over Lyra's lips and cheek. Lyra is struggling to get Barbara off of her. Kicks the flashlight, blah, blah, blah. The husband no longer there. Over to Landon. Landon is on the ATV making his way back to the station, but as he's going, he passes by Juno and Fisher's house. He very much wants to be like, this ain't my business, I'm gonna get back to the police station. However, he's like, I really couldn't live with myself if I left Juno and Fisher alone in the house and something bad happened to them. Because as of this time, he doesn't know that they went over to the church. He thinks that they're still hiding in their house. So he opens the door. Immediately, he can sense that something is very wrong. He calls out to Juno. He has this, like, deep feeling that nobody is in this house, but he's like, I'm gonna still search it anyway. So he calls out to Juno. He's wondering if they had gone to the church, like he and Lyra had suggested earlier in the day. Still, he goes checking room by room, calling to Juno as he goes. He approaches the bedroom and then he smells it. He knew that one of the creatures had been there. As he's entering the room, he then begins to smell blood and he hears a tapping sound. He moves further into the room. The tapping sound grows louder. Landon then sees Juno laying on the bed. He's fully frozen. He begins shaking and hyperventilating at what he's seeing because Juno has been fully impaled by a harpoon. The harpoon has entered between her legs and the tip of it is coming out her throat. It is resting against her jaw and the sound of the clicking is her teeth hitting the harpoon. Her hands are clenching and unclenching and her mouth is like opening and closing on the harpoon. That's what I'm saying. Her eyes solid black.
I'm sorry I walked in on Juno getting spit roasted.
She
giant metal spear.
Her throat fully covered in bite marks, so he just closes the door. And he continues to search the house. He's looking for Fisher, and he's very relieved when he does not, in fact, find Fisher. Juno longed for the sea. Over to Felix. They reach the police station. They find all the doors are locked. Felix begins pounding on the door. Lyra cracks the door open and just like kind of peeks at them. And she begins to ask, "Are you?" And Felix says, "No, we're us. We're not one of those things." So Lyra opens the door and lets them in. She then very quickly locks and closes the door behind them. Once inside, Fisher begins to, like, grip onto Felix's shirt and, like, yank on her. And when she looks over at him, he points to the trail of blood leading into the basement. Felix then pushes Fisher behind her, noticing that Lyra's face is fully covered in blood. Felix asks if Lyra's okay, and Lyra tells Felix that she thinks so, before telling them that one of them is locked in the basement in the evidence room. Felix tells Lyra that they're coming out of the ocean. They then hear a knock on the front door. Lyra answers it. It's Landon. She helps him into a chair because, again, he has been bitten in the arm and the leg.
Isn't she also bitten? I thought the husband bit her.
No. We don't necessarily know what happened, but she somehow incapacitated one and locked the other in the evidence room. Yeah. She's a badass bitch.
So, wait, what happened to Fisher's dad then? I thought there was a whole point where she laid down in bed. And...
No, that was Juno. It's like I said, too many people. I know, it's a lot.
No, you're good. No, I'm on page.
Like,
I'm on page now.
I want this to be a movie so badly, and if it can't be a movie, then I need Mike Flanagan to get his paws on it.
I keep thinking of Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
Just little island.
I told you. I so told you.
Town.
Yes, I was like, it very much gave Midnight Mass vibes. And like, when I picked this book up, I was very disappointed that it didn't have an audiobook because it was last year when I was like peak audiobook girly. I was not reading nothing with my eyes at that point. But I had really, really wanted to read this book because it, zombie mermaids, who doesn't want to read that, right? And this book made me fall in love with, like, just sitting down with a book and just reading it because it is so fucking cinematic. And I've read some other stuff by her, and, like, one I could not get with, but another one I would like to do, but it's so fucking dark-sided. It would absolutely have to be, like...
Disheartening?
Yeah, well, certainly not that, but yes, it would need to be, like, not on, like, a public platform like this, because it's gnarly. But it's very good. Blue Jay, if anyone out here likes a good splatter punk adjacent moment, I highly recommend Blue Jay. Anyways, so...
I don't know if I like the dark sidening as our like side project.
I feel like it's really going to be like you guys doing a lot of smut and me just doing the really fucking dark shit.
Yeah, because I figured the smutting wouldn't just be actually smut. It would be the stuff that we couldn't normally post on, like...
More so like Yappening After Dark
yeah,
type
where
of thing.
younger people can't find it.
Yes.
Yeah, smutting was just something I threw out at that moment.
No, I still like it. I still want it to be called smutting.
Yeah. I mean, we
The
could just...
smutting After Dark.
Well,
like...
well, you know, whenever we get to this point, we can have, like, smutting episodes and then, splattening episodes.
Splattening.
The
Splatterpunk.
No, I know.
Which I guess also could be, smutting.
I feel like once we get, like, to 1,000 followers, we can discuss a Patreon.
I mean, you know, let's get it.
Oh, we will.
I know, girl, because we gotta get you a new job. Even if it's
We all
us.
need new jobs.
I'm stuck, not to say stuck, because I don't hate my job, but I do have to be there for the next year because they paid for me to get that, like, certification. So I have to be there for a year. Although they didn't make me sign anything, so don't fucking try me. But he was like, you have to stay for a year if we're going to pay for these classes. Otherwise, you have to pay us back. And I'm like, that's fine. That means you can't fire me, right? So, anyways, so, basement, open the door, help land into a chair. They then all kind of collectively fill each other in on their different side quests and kind of what they've learned as they were going. Landon reveals that he's been bitten. Felix, ever the optimist, is just like, okay, cool, let's get to a boat and let's get you to the mainland and we'll get you to a hospital. Like, this is fine. This isn't a big deal. We got you, but we really got to move fast now that you've been bitten.
And Fisher jumps in. No, we gotta cut the arm off.
You wait until Fisher jumps in. So, anyways, let's go to the hospital. Lyra is obviously very much like that. It's the fucking dumbest idea I've ever fucking heard. And Landon very gently tells her that whatever happens very quickly, and the last place they want to be is alone with him on a boat. Basically, like, I've seen what these things turn into, and you do not want to be trapped on a boat with me.
That was our biggest fear before the whole zombie thing.
Right. Fisher then pipes up and says, well, we can't go anywhere without my mom. And Landon basically says there isn't anything they can do for his mom. So, Fisher...
What mom? Oh, sorry, kid.
Fisher quickly grabs the knife that Felix had laid down onto the table, and he stabs her in the leg, and then he makes like a banana. When he gets home... He's standing outside, and he hears someone tell him not to go inside. Fisher turns around and sees his dad standing there. His dad tells Fisher to come with him, says it's not safe out here. You really don't want to go inside your house. Come with me. Fisher says we need to go find Mom. His dad comes closer, telling Fisher that it's going to be okay. He then takes Fisher by the hand, and they walk off. Lyra rushes over to Felix, as Fisher is yeeting himself from the building. She sees Landon jump up and rush out the door, screaming for Fisher. Felix tells Lyra to go after them. As Lyra heads outside, she sees Landon just fully laying down, face up, catching the raindrops in his mouth. Like, he got outside and was, like, so compelled by the water, he had to have a little sippy sip. As Lyra crouches down next to Landon, he jerks his head back into focus, and he rasps out Fisher's name. Lyra tells him that Fisher's gone, and that they need to get back inside. As Lyra then hears a squeal that sends a chill down her spine, Landon sits up and looks around. By the beach access point, they see Barbara and other figures moving. They're all walking in unison. Landon whispers, "What the fuck?" But Lyra hauls his ass up, and they get back inside. Inside, Felix has removed the knife from her leg. She has used essentially an entire box of tissue to try to stop the bleeding. And Lyra basically is like, why did you take that out of your leg? Like, you really should have left that in. So, like, they just kind of do this, like, bicker thing back and forth. But Landon is like, I'm going to go get a first aid kit. Felix is saying that she's not feeling super great. She's starting to feel...
Too.
What?
I heard first aid clit.
Yep.
Hey, whatever.
What's that big nut?
Girls are magic. So Lyra opens the first aid kit once Landon brings it back to them. Felix quickly... Lyra pulls out sutures. Felix says that she's got it. Like, basically, like, I'll sew my leg back up. It's fine. Lyra is beginning to argue with her that she shouldn't sew her own leg closed. However, Landon then collapses into the desk. Felix's eyes are very much glued to Landon, and she does not look very comfortable. So Lyra slowly turns around and sees that Landon has collapsed because he is sucking the blood from his fingers, and it is so amazing. He just fell over into the desk. Lyra very gently calls his name as she's slowly reaching for the knife. Landon's eyes snap open. For a moment, he doesn't look like Landon, and then very clearly he comes back to himself. He then lets out a breath. And then, let's see. He starts backing up, he trips over a chair, and then he takes off down the hall. Felix grabs Lyra's arm and tells her to take the knife with him, or with her when she goes after him, and she starts sewing her leg up. Lyra heads to the break room after Landon. She asks him if he's okay. His hands are braced on the edge of the sink. He looks like he's going to be sick. He tells Lyra that he is in fact not okay. She offers to get him a glass of water. She sets down the knife on the counter to fill the glass when she then feels air moving along the back of her neck. She turns around with the glass of water. Landon is standing so close to her that he's almost touching her. She slowly lifts the glass of water to him. He picks it up, gulps it down. He then reaches around her to set the glass on the counter before putting his hands on either side of her against the counter, pinning her there. She tells him that she needs some space. She asks him to go sit down. He then leans in and she turns to grab the knife. As she turns to grab the knife, he grabs a fistful of her hair. He yanks her head back to expose her throat. As he's lunging for her neck, she stabs the knife through the bottom of his chin. His jaw unhinges. He lets out an inhuman scream. He lunges again for her. She grabs the knife and grips onto the handle and yanks it out. His teeth graze her hand as she's doing this. She pulls back. His jaws are snapping. He throws himself at her, knocking them both to the floor. She's holding his hair while he's on top of her, and she's like trying to hold his face away from her. He's fully laying on top of her, so she can't really move. He pushes her head back with one hand and pulls the collar of her shirt away with the other. He's trying to lean in and bite her. She shoves the knife into his neck repeatedly. He doesn't react to this. Her arm begins to shake with the effort of holding his head back. His scalp then gives way, and his head falls forward, colliding with hers. Her hand begins shaking, and she realizes that his mouth is on her throat. Her eyelids flutter, and she is confused by the feeling of euphoria rushing over her. As the knife falls from her hand, she hears Felix scream no over and over, and then she rushes into the room. She grabs Landon and throws him off of Lyra. As the weight comes off of Lyra, she begins to feel incredibly cold and pain washes over her. She reaches out to grab Landon's shirt to yank him back towards her. But Felix, again, he tosses her to the floor and then picks Lyra up to her feet. Lyra is screaming as she feels the warmth of blood on her throat. She can't hear Felix. Felix is saying something to her as Felix is pulling her into her arms and just like cradling her and rocking her while Lyra's sobbing. Landon is back to his senses and he too is laying on the floor just fully sobbing. He had slowly lost control once he tasted the blood on his hand. He hated Lyra for coming in after him. She should have known better. The attack was all a blur for him. The moment she gave him the water, he fully lost control. He couldn't figure out what it was, but Lyra was just super irresistible to him. There was a dull ache in his brain just urging him to get closer and closer to her. Once Felix pulled him away, he snapped back. He was able to see what he'd done. He watched Lyra scream in horror. It made him want to do anything he could to like take it back. But he just lay there sobbing until they left the room. The door shut behind them. He got up. He went to the mirror. His eyes are fully bloodshot. And what was blue is now like fully turning black. He climbs into the shower. He slides down the floor, turns the shower on, and he's just like fully sitting in the shower while it's running over him. Felix opens the door and peeks inside and asks Felix if Lyra's okay. Or no, he says, tell Lyra I'm sorry. He basically is saying, like, I'd never want to hurt anyone. I especially would never want to hurt her. Like, I didn't mean to. Felix is incredibly calm. She basically says, it's all right. We know you wouldn't do that on purpose. She is trying to soothe him as she enters the room with him. She squats down next to the shower. She tells Landon that they're going to get going. She's not sure what they're going to do, but they have to try to do something. She asks if he would like to come with them. He tells her he can't live knowing what he's done to Lyra. He knows, even now, all he can think about is doing it again, and he knows that if he gets the chance to be close to her again, he will do it again, basically. He tells Felix that they need to get out of there, he tells Felix she needs to get out of there, saying that Lyra's going to do the same thing to Felix, if Felix doesn't get away somewhere safe. Felix just says, so you're not going to come with us? He smiles at her. She says, I thought that's what you were going to say, and then hands him his gun. He nods and thanks her. Felix tells him that she's sorry before leaving the room. Felix returns to Lyra. She tells Lyra that they need to go. Lyra shakes her head and tells Felix that she needs to get somewhere safe. Felix just stands up and offers Lyra her hand. The storm has mostly stopped by the time they get outside. It's just kind of drizzling. The wind is gone, though. Felix starts to head down an alleyway to make her way to the beach. Once they hit the beach, they begin sprinting. Lyra begins to slow down, but Felix tells her that they need to keep going. Lyra is wheezing. She tells Felix that she's so thirsty she can't run anymore. Felix shouts that Lyra can't give up, that they're getting close to the dock. Fast forward a little bit. So the reason that they're running, and I cut it out, and I'm not necessarily certain why I cut it out, other than it's stupid, but the reason they're running is because as they got down the alleyway, they hear the clomping of hooves, and they turn around, and there's a herd of wild horses who are zombies.
Oh my god, what?
Yeah, so the horses are chasing them down the beach. So they get under, they push themselves under the dock. A horse grabs onto Lyra and pulls her out, and Felix grabs her and, like, yanks her back under the dock. So Felix is holding Lyra. Lyra is gripping onto Felix, and she begins holding Felix tighter and tighter. Lyra then pulls her close and begins nuzzling into the crook of Felix's neck and moaning. Felix tells her no and begins to push her away as her eyes are welling up with tears. Felix gets out of Lyra's grip, and she crawls away from her. She gets to her feet, and Lyra is calling her frantically. Lyra's apologizing, telling Felix that she's not sure why she had done that. Felix turns...
Don't make me get the spray bottle. I know you'd like it.
Right. Felix turns around and sees Lyra standing there, fully sobbing. Felix tells her that they need to keep moving. She asks Lyra to bend down and grab the flashlight that is under the dock still. As Lyra bends down, Felix picks up a piece of driftwood. Over to Fisher. He and his dad are standing on South Beach. They are looking out towards the sea. They're standing right at the edge of the surf. His dad crouches down until he's eye level with Felix. His dad smiles at him, and Fisher feels uneasy by this because it's the sad type of smile that he doesn't like. Fisher tells his dad that he's scared. His dad takes his hand and asks if Fisher trusts him. Fisher nods. His dad tells him to close his eyes. Fisher feels his dad's cold lips against his wrists. He then feels a pinch. Fisher opens his eyes to see his dad biting his wrist. His wrist begins burning, but then Fisher feels like he's floating. His dad picks Fisher up and begins to walk with him into the ocean. Fisher begins struggling and telling his dad no. As they sink beneath the water, Fisher felt a surge of fear before it fades away. He sees that his dad is glistening. His skin is a green-blue, and beneath them, Fisher hears a song. Fisher thinks to himself that the sound of the ocean is the beating of an ancient heart, and then Fisher longed for the sea. Landon. After the bullet passed through his brain, all humanity in him died, and Landon longed for the sea. Lyra regains consciousness. She can hear sloshing of the ocean. She's afraid to open her eyes, but when she does, she sees the orange sun is rising. She realizes that they're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. She begins to panic, noticing that She's fully bound up with rope. Lyra calls out to Felix, and Felix tells her that she's right there. Lyra turns her head and sees Felix sitting at the edge of the boat. She's hugging her knees to her chest, and she's looking out over the ocean. When Felix looks at Lyra, she can see that Felix has a look of solemn resolve. Felix comes and sits by Lyra. Lyra tries to reach out and take Felix's hand. Felix takes Lyra's hand in hers. So, Lyra's trying to reach up, but obviously she's bound up, so Felix just reaches out and grabs her hand. So they're holding hands. Lyra tells Felix that she's so sorry. Felix leans in and kisses Lyra. Felix tasted like pain and the ocean, blood and salt. Lyra begins to feel the urge to pull Felix in closer, to wrap her arms around Felix and to bite into her, to feed from her throat. Felix pulls away. Lyra wants to beg her not to pull away, but she also wants to attack. Lyra tells Felix that she's seen this one before and she doesn't like the ending, which is a lot of the time. Whenever Felix would try to sit down with the movie, that's what Lyra would say to her all the time. I don't like the ending. I don't want to watch that. So Felix looks at her. Her eyes are filled with tears. Lyra then sees that her feet are bound to a cement block.
Ooh.
Felix tells Lyra that she loved her. Lyra thinks that this should be the moment that she finally tells Felix that she loves her too, not the past tense, that she does now and she always will. She wants to tell Felix that she's so sorry for everything, and if there was ever one person that she could ever truly love, it was Felix. Instead, Lyra says she knows. Very Han Solo of her. Felix then lifts Lyra up into a sitting position and begins to move the cement block to the edge of the boat while cradling Lyra. Lyra is so close to Felix that she could bite her. The need to bite her is becoming more and more intense. She then fights one of her hands out of her binds from the rope. She then shoves Felix back before flinging herself out of the boat, the block following after her. Felix reaches into the water and grabs Lyra's hand, fingers briefly touching as Lyra sinks beneath the water. Lyra's sorrow is very quickly replaced by comfort that she has never felt before, and Lyra longed for the sea. Felix, she doesn't know where she's going to go. She wants to put as much distance between her and the island as she possibly can. But like Fisher's dad said, she is old blood. She doesn't belong on the mainland. She is meant to live and die by the sea. She wonders if the creatures or the Coast Guard will be the first to find her. She is willing to accept whatever happens because Felix has always longed for the sea. 3 years earlier, the men are on their fishing boat. One pipes up and says that he's happy that Felix couldn't come on the trip with them this year because having women on board ship is very bad luck. Someone tells him that they aren't superstitious, so basically shut the fuck up. At that point, the cabin door bursts open and one of the other fishermen basically comes down and yells that someone's in the water and everyone needs to get up on deck so that they can help them. The men set to work. They're turning on the lights because it's nighttime at this point. On the sea, there is a very pale woman floating. She calls out to them, asking for help. The deck lights then explode. Someone runs over with a flashlight. He thinks he sees another body in the water floating beneath the woman. Someone jumps in and swims over to her to help her back to the ship. She wraps her arms and legs around him and begins to kiss him. They then both sink down to the ocean. The men on board can see the pale glow of her skin beneath the surface until it fully vanishes as they get deeper. The men are freaking out, wondering what is happening. And then just one by one, they kind of fall into the ocean, just really dumb as fuck. They're just all falling off the boat randomly. So one of them can hear a song. He then begins screaming. One of them that's in the water, he says he can hear a song. And then he begins screaming as he's pulled under. The final two who managed to not fall off the boat somehow, after searching for the others for hours, they decide that they're just going to head back home because they can't find anybody and also they don't want to be out there anymore. And then, let's see, as they turn the boat around, they go back, they go to bed, they're both having nightmares. One of them wakes up and sees that the other man isn't in his bed anymore, so he heads up onto the deck, calling out to his friend. The ocean is calm and quiet. He then hears a woman. He looks over the side of the ship. He asks the woman how she got down there, and she smiles and laughs and says, "How did you get up there?" He starts to respond, and she says, "I'm not talking to you." He turns around. There's another woman behind him. She smiles with her mouth full of too many teeth. She says some need a little push as she pushes him off the side of the boat. The end.
So the end was like the past, or?
Yeah, the end is like what happened to the fishermen, basically. So the mermaids got him.
I'm not entirely sure about like the lore and stuff, but they seem more like sirens than mermaids.
Perhaps.
It's like zombie vampire sirens.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like just, they go under the water and at least Fisher heard the music.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously just someone being in distress, and they go to help them, but then all of a sudden, smoochy, smoochy, huggy, huggy, draggy, draggy.
I'm assuming there's like an underground city of them.
Yeah, probably. I'm assuming that that's probably what they were hearing as, or what Fisher very specifically was hearing as they were going down.
Mermaid Hatton.
Yeah. Mermaid in Manhattan.
That'd be an interesting read, though.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot of horror bits.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very scary.
It'd make a good horror movie.
It really, really would. Oh my god, so good.
Mike Flanagan, get on this.
Yeah, and like if you don't allude to it just being a mermaid thing and you just kind of pose it as like a horror thing and then you find out that they're mermaids or whatever, it would be so cool.
Yeah, even just start as almost like a cop procedural type moment,
Mm-hmm.
Buddy washes up on the beach, and even if you like hint at something supernatural, like a figure in an alley just kind of doing that zombie sway thing.
Yeah.
Flanagan's good about that, like blink and you'll miss it, or like something in the background that doesn't give it away, but like adds to the spookiness.
And I can definitely see, just because one of the things he does is like each episode will kind of center around one of like the characters of the series, and I think that this would play really well into that, like kind of.
They could do like a limited series too.
Yeah, like a one season type moment, where they kind of like give more lore into like people's backgrounds and like histories and stuff. I think that would be really cool, or just a straightforward horror movie. Because this is a very short book. It's only like it's under 200 pages. You
find out like three episodes in that the dad like died years ago. For the first 2 years, like, oh, kid's talking to his dad, and it wishes his dad was like closer and they could get ice cream and stuff. And then find out he's been dead the whole time.
Dad, how cold you are. Dad, how soggy you are. Dad, how moist.
No, not moist. Moist like the
wet.
preacher man.
That was something else that's Flanagan is like just the pastor, preacher, holy man.
Yeah, midnight mass.
Yep.
Oh my god, the visceral, like, oh, fucking nasty.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like this one. And then I started it so that if we needed extra for yours, because yours was a short one too, I was like, I'm at 7 pages and I'm only just halfway over. It ended up being like 18 pages. But, I gotta be long-winded. Sorry, guys.
Oh, good. No, you tell, like, I like the way you tell because that way I can just, like, I can imagine it as it's going, and it's like, so I like our different storytelling, so I can really be imaginative and like listen. I feel like I'm being told like a story, and then like Nick, your storytelling is actually really funny with all the puns and stuff. I enjoy it. It's like I get like my own little comedy show.
Yeah, in different styles.
I can imagine reading the entire thing very, like you said, cinematic, but even your retelling, I'm picturing it very Flanagan-esque, like kind of a kind of rundown, poor-ish town. But then there's like the church kind of in the middle of things. Even if it wasn't like, it was a big centerpiece, but it wasn't like a crux of the story.
Yeah.
It was still like a major setting.
Yes. When I was reading it initially, it very much gave Midnight Mass vibes to me. And I'm a hoe for a zombie moment, so very, very good. I also liked the just like, and they longed for the sea.
I like that, yeah, the long for the sea. And then I, just because of listening to you, I just created a whole freaking mermaid, like, fucking book in my head. And I'm like, we'll think about it.
There you go. Inspiring.
I was thinking of sirens as characters for something I got going on.
Do it, yeah.
Also, like, as I was putting together our book bank on our thing, just because you're such a mood reader, I can't possibly schedule your episodes.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I just give you slots and you tell me what you're going to read, right before we record.
Yeah.
That's fine. No, but as I was going through and actually building the book bank out, I realized that I had, like, an actual short story, like an actual novella that I absolutely could have, like, had together. Not that we needed it, because yours definitely went really, really well. very detailed. It was like, of course, your most detailed covering of a book is the
I tried.
novella.
I really tried. I felt like it. Yeah, I tried. I felt like it wasn't though. So I was like, I felt so bad about it.
No, I felt like that one was really good.
Okay. I will say I am currently listening to. I'm still listening to the first book of Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I think I got like 8 hours left. And then I just started the next cut and run book so that we could have that by June. And then. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're going to need to get those recorded.
Those will be super. It's just pretty much. I already realized I own all of the books.
Good.
Because they're on my Kindle still. So I actually own the audiobook. So
Nice.
I'm just going to audio. I started buying the audiobooks after this book, it looks like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we have all of next week off, even though we're only going to be gone out of town for those couple days.
Yep.
So hopefully we're going to spend a day or two at the library, and I'm going to get my script written. Because I don't act right if I'm at home, because I just procrastinate until
Same, that's why I have
I'm
to
pulling an all-nighter.
I cannot write my book at home. I have to be at a coffee shop, which
Yeah.
is so detrimental because now it's not getting done. But whatever.
You know. That's
Like-
Yeah, last time we went to Black Cat, I was like, yeah, I can do some writing and stuff. Oh, and first I helped Brittney with something, but then I had just seen a TikTok where you can get different library cards.
Mm.
So you can actually get one through like the Japan Foundation. And you can get like access to their books and
Oh, that's
manga
cool.
and stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
The Queer Liberation Library has a whole bunch of LGBTQ books and stuff. And I'll put in the description. There's a site where you like put in like your local library, and it tells you like other libraries that are like also kind of like in network.
Oh, that's nice.
So I added like 13 libraries to my list.
Yeah.
And of course, none of them have the Garth Marenghi book that I've been listening to on Spotify.
R.I.P.
Yep.
All right, send us out, Nick.
All right. I actually got 2 because I don't know how the first one is gonna come out. Just because I had one prepared, but then just everyone whispering to characters in the story.
Okay, go on.
Hey, how you doing, little mama? Let me whisper in your ear. Tell you a story you might like to hear.
Jessy's face. I wish that was on camera, because Jessy's face right now is killing me.
It's
adorable.
I just made her so happy.
You did.
You did.
Don't worry, I'll make sure they can hear that.
And just as a backup, this one I had prepared.
Just the giggle before you get into it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to yap with you again.
Okay, bye.
Bye.